Let's start.
सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं कर्वावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्य मध्यमम् अस्मद् आचार्यपर्यन्तं वन्दे गुरुपरम्परम्। ॐ गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ॐ सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। कर्पण्यदोषोपहत स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वं धर्मसम्मूढचेतः यश्रेयस्यानिश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधिमं त्वं प्रपन्नम्। ॐ वाङ्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् अवीरवीर्म एधि वेदस्य म अनिष्टः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासिः अनेन आदितेन अहोरत्रं संदधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्माम् अवतु तद्भक्तरम् अवतु अवतु मम अवतु भक्तारम् अवतु भक्तारम्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ भद्रं कर्णिभिः शृणुयामदेवः भद्रं पश्यामक्षभिर्यजत्रः स्थिरैरङ्गे तुष्टुभागुं सस्तनूभिः पश्येम देवाहितं यजायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति न पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति न तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पति दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ अहं वृक्षस्य रेरिव कीर्तिपृष्ठं गिरेरिव ऊर्ध्वा पवित्रो वजीनिव स्वामृतम् अस्मि द्रविरग्वं सवर्चसं सुमेधा अमृतोक्षिताः इति त्रिशङ्कुर्वेदानुवचनम्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
Thank you for the seva, Kakoli. Very, very nicely done. Okay, so in last class, in shloka 16, Arjun basically had realized, see, Arjun has a very keen Shravan, right? We talk about Shravan, Manan, Chintan, Nididhyasan, and then comes Bhajan, right? So he's very, very keen Shravan. And keen Shravan happens with full concentration. Okay, if we are doing 10 things at the same time while we are doing Shravan, then that's not Shravan, right? Full concentration, nothing else but Shravan, so that everything that is said really, really stays inside. Okay, that is very, very important. And that's the kind of Shravan that Arjun is showing us, how that Shravan happens. Everything Bhagwanji says, doesn't have to repeat it, it stays in his mind, right? So Arjun remembers that in the 7th shlok, when the 10th chapter had started, in 10.7, Bhagwanji had told him that anybody who understands my vibhutis in their essence, for that person, he will have bhakti yoga. He will be granted bhakti yoga very easily. All right. Now, what does that mean? He basically means to say that, and this is what Arjun realized, that, oh, okay, so I need bhakti, and for that I need to understand his vibhuti yoga. Right. So he asked Bhagwanji, and he says, this is a very simple method. Right. Now, how does that work, right? The more you know his vibhutis, the more you understand Bhagwanji in his essence, the more you do chintan about it, right? Your heart is naturally attracted to him. Okay, the bhakti will develop on its own. It isn't something you have to work on, right? What you need to work on is understanding his vibhutis in their tattva. Okay, and naturally a feeling of devotion will develop in your heart. Bhakti, as we typically understand, we always think bhakti is blind. Okay, faith is blind. That's how we've always taken it to be. But what Bhagwanji is saying, that is not the case ever. He has not talked about any puja, archana, upasana, anything at all. And we are already on chapter 10, halfway through chapter 10. Okay, at no point of time. So you see, every other form of bhakti we've ever heard of, throw that out of your mind. That is not bhakti. Bhakti starts with gyan, starts with understanding, starts with knowledge, which is what he has been giving us. Chapter 7, chapter 8, chapter 10, everywhere he is telling us how to see him, how to understand him, how to find his manifestations in this world. And the path to bhakti is to know this naturally without you doing any other work, swabhavik tarike se, in a natural manner. Your devotion, your bhakti, your faith will automatically strengthen. Okay. So Arjun finds it very, very, it's like, wow, you've given me a very simple method of doing this, right? Then then he says, okay, so now I have to, you told me, right? Chapter 2, Bhagwanji has told him what? That you cannot run away from this world. है ना? मेरा स्मरण कर और युद्ध कर, अनुस्मरण युद्ध्यश्च, right? Do my smaran and stay in this world and do your yuddha, right? Do your duty. He's told that to him. So he says, now you tell me, Bhagwanji, how do I, in what form should I do your chintan? That's what he asks in Shlok 17. Okay, tell me, how do I do your chintan? Keshu keshu cha bhaveshu chintayosi bhagwan maya. In what form? Where all do I see you? How do I do your chintan? Tell me about this. Okay. And why is he so interested? Because he also remembers that in 8.14, Bhagwanji had told him that whoever is constantly doing my chintan, will find me. I will be delivered to him in a very easy manner. And in the 9.22, he told us that whoever does his nitya chintan, whoever is absorbed in him at all the times, he will do his yogakshem. He says, good. So I don't have to do any of my yogakshem. I don't have to worry about the money. I don't have to worry about food. I don't have to worry about my resources in my life. He will take care of it. Then why am I wasting my time doing all of this? Why am I wasting my time running after Kam, running after Arth? Kam or Arth, Bhagwanji has already given. Okay, so why waste my time on this? Right? So he says, now, but you've told me to stay in this world. So now tell me, how do I achieve this? By doing, in what form should I do your chintan? Okay. And then he says, now tell me all of this in vistar, in detail. Vistar in atmano yogam vibhutim cha janardana. Tell me everything, leave nothing behind. Tell me everything in great detail. Okay. Why? Because it is a knowledge. I have so much of curiosity. Now Arjun has so much of curiosity, which is like he's learned about his manifestations for all these chapters. Now 3-4 chapters he's been learning about his manifestations, and yet the curiosity hasn't slaked. Okay. He wants more of it. This is a very
important... just start the recording.
I started the recording. It's recording. Yeah, it's recording. So, so this is something very special about Bhagwanji's knowledge or understanding him, that knowing him or hearing about him or understanding him or singing his bhajans, it never satiates. It's unsatiable thirst, right? Unlike everything else in this world, everything in this world that is transient, that has a start and an end, will always have a marginal diminishing utility. Okay, every marginal sip of water, every marginal morsel of food, every marginal minute of song you heard, every marginal minute of dance you've experienced, every marginal good smell you've had experienced, every one of them, after that, after the first one, the second and the third and the fourth experience is going to reduce its marginal utility. Okay, that utility keeps on reducing. That's not the case with Bhagwanji. Everything related to Bhagwanji means that it is going to continuously increase. Okay, it will continuously like there is no marginally like that economic law doesn't apply to Bhagwanji. Okay, now in answer to that, Bhagwanji says in the so in Shlok 19, finally Bhagwanji says Hanta. He acknowledges Arjun's request, Hanta. And he says, okay, I get it. Now I will tell you about my divine sublimities, my manifestations, my vibhutis. But I cannot tell you everything because it is impossible. My vibhutis are infinite. So nobody can tell them all, nobody can hear them all, right? Because by very nature, they are infinite. And so I will tell you the key ones for your understanding. Okay, so now he will start his explanation of his key sublimities, his key vibhutis, which is what we will read now, right? Okay. Kavita, will you read with us? Connection to after 19.
Revealing himself as the self of all beings, the Lord says,
Ahamatma Gudakesha
Ahamatma Gudakesha
Sarvabhutashaya Sthitah
Sarvabhutashaya Stitah
Ahamadishcha Madhyam Cha
Ahamadishcha Madhyam Cha
Bhutanamanta Eva Cha.
Bhutanamanta Eva Cha.
It's very, very simple to understand. So in today's class, I will only talk about very, very basic words, right? Others are very simple to understand. Aham Atma, I am the Atma. Gudakesha, one who has won over his sleep of ignorance. Sarva Bhuta Shaya Sthitaha, established in all beings. Aham Adishcha, I am the start and Madhyam, middle. Bhutana Anta, I am the Ant, the end in all beings.
O Gudakesha, I am the self residing in the hearts of all beings. I am the beginning, the middle, and end of all beings. The Lord as the self of all beings. In addressing Arjuna as Gudakesha, is the very first shloka of narration of his sublimities. The Lord points out the fact that only the person can be the recipient of his perception who has decided to throw off the slumber of delusion. He resides in the heart of all beings, like a seed form which all physical appearances spring. It is in the manner that he is the self of all beings. He is the beginning, the middle, and the end of all beings. In the same manner in which the water of the ocean is the beginning, in the middle, and in the end of all the waves of the ocean. The first manifestation of his sublimity, as narrated by the Lord, is the self of all beings. There is a reason for this. According to the terse saying in the scriptures, whatever is in the universe is in the body. This is why the universe is spoken of the cosmic body of the Lord. By calling himself the self of all beings, he indicates that he pervades and sustains the universe as the self pervades and sustains the body of beings. The difference lie in the physical makeup of beings. In the succeeding shlokas, the manifestation would be narrated. And so this principle should be understood as the underlying principle of all other manifestation.
Okay. So there are two ways in which you do chintan of the Lord. The first type of chintan is when you consider somebody your Ishta Devta, you are in love with someone, and all you ever do is you just think about him. Okay. The second form is, and if your thought goes elsewhere, right? If it wanders, you get it back to thinking about that object, that thing, your Ishta Dev, right? You're only thinking about him directly. The second form is where you are you are looking at the sansar and all the mehta, the vishesha, the speciality, the important things, the beautiful things, whatever you see in this world, everything reminds you of him. Okay. So when you think of this as in like when you are in love, right? When you are in love, there are two ways. Either you are thinking about that person directly, or when you look at something, it reminds you of that person. You go to a place and you see a particular food item and you say, okay, this is something that person likes a lot. So you are thinking of that person when you're looking at the food. You're looking at the food, but you're in your mind, the thought that triggers is that person, right? You look at a flower and you realize, oh, that's the flower that person likes, right? So your mind is triggered with that. That's the concept. That's the difference between the two. You get it? There is a difference, right, between the two types of chintan. Okay. It is in the context of second type of chintan that Bhagwan Ji is referring to and pushing us towards thinking about him. Okay. So you get it. Practically speaking, what is he wanting you to do? Okay. Now, so he's basically saying in the first part where he says, Ahmadishcha, Ahamadischa madhyam cha bhutana anta eva cha, right? I am the start, I'm the middle, I'm the end. Okay. So he's saying basically everything in this world originates from me, right? It starts from me. And then in the end, it is me. So in the middle also has to be me. Okay. Now, how to understand that, right? If you think about a jewelry that is made from gold, okay, when things start, what you actually have is just gold. Correct? You just have gold to start with. And then when at the end of its life, when you melt it down, it is again gold. Correct? So in the middle, what you see is also gold. It doesn't matter what form it has, what value it has, what design it has, how it is used. It may be very different. Its weight may be different. Its style may be different. Its use may be different. Everything may be entirely different for different types of ornaments, right? Yet, in the middle, it doesn't matter what it is. They are still gold. Because in the beginning is gold, in the end is gold. Okay. Similarly, Bhagwan Ji was at the beginning of all creation, right? He said, Eko ham bahusyami. I am one and I want to create many from me, right? Eko ham bahusyami, bahusyama prajayeti. So I am creating from me. So he is the creator of all of the creation afterwards. In the end, everything, when we die, everything, once everything is done, we all become him again, right? Like, so Paramatma Swarup in the beginning, Paramatma Swarup in the end. So he says, Shishyate Shesha Sangyagaha. In the end, also what is remaining is me. So then in the middle, whatever you see has to be him too. You can't have anything else in the middle. It doesn't matter what that person looks like, where he comes from, which part of the world he lives in, what he eats, what he drinks, what he believes in, what he does, what his actions are, what his temperament is. It doesn't matter what his role is. At the core, he is Bhagwan Ji. So that's what he means by the sentence. And another important thing here is that he's saying that he's referring to Arjun as Gudakesh, right? And that is very important because he's saying that the only person who can really perceive him, who can see his vibhutis, the person who will do his chintan every time he sees the vibhutis in the world that brings him back to Bhagwanji's Chintan, is a person who is adhikari of that perception. And to be the adhikari of that perception, you have to be a Gudakesh. Gudakesh is a person who has won over sleep. Okay, that's the literal meaning. One who has, so in that context, they say that Arjun could go many days without any sleep and it had no impairment on his body or his ability to perform, right? That's Gudakesh. But in reality, what it signifies is person who has won over the sleep of ignorance. There is no tamas anymore in this person. Okay, he has won over his tamas. He has won over that entire ignorance. So he knows what is reality. And for that, what is required is tap. You don't become a Gudakesh without extreme tap. Okay, so you
So if
have.
I can add,
Hmm.
um, so the sleep of Gudakesh, right? Like this conqueror of sleep. That's the translation. Out here, sleep also refers to delusion. Subtle meaning is delusion. The relevant meaning for us is delusion. And what is the part that deludes us from seeing Atma? Is the ego. The sense of me and I is what stops us from seeing the oneness of Bhagwanji, the Atma. What the shloka actually also gives you as assurance, as a very deep assurance that we are Bhagwanji. He's telling us in as many words, we are gods. A part of him is us. Whether we choose to believe it or not, it's immaterial. Whether we choose to identify with that or not is our illusion or delusion. And that's the first essence of the shloka. That rise above your delusion of being an ego, being an I, and you will experience him, the divinity that powers everything. And the second part of the shloka, right, which is the beginning, the middle, and the end. It's also interesting to see it from our life perspective. When a baby is about to be born, right, or when a woman is pregnant, the conversation always is, I just pray you have a healthy baby. There is no control. There may be wishes, there may be wants, but there is no control, and there is only pray to somebody, the creator. Right? So the beginning of our life is always starts with a pray, with hope, right? To submission to a higher power. I think all of us have children, right? And we're very blessed. But if you speak to a couple who've been trying for children and they don't have children, you can see how deeply submissive they are to the larger powers, right? They just anything, sacrifice, a lot of stuff they will do. Similarly, the end of every life, all our lives, what do we start? We start Mahamrityunjay Jap. We start playing bhajans in the end. We start bringing the Gita in the room. Every end ends at even in Western culture, funeral will end at the church. Right? It necessarily, and what do we say to the people who've lost a family member? I hope he's at peace. Rest in peace. You are now wishing, that he's gone back to Bhagwanji. So if you know the end is Bhagwanji and you know the beginning is Bhagwanji, then it's necessary. Then it's easy to understand that everything that happens in between is powered by him as well. All the dynamism, all the activity that happens is also powered by him. And that's what he's saying. But what happens to our lives? We remember him in the beginning. We remember him in the end. We try to remember him in the end. And in the beginning, we think it's me. In the beginning, we think it's I. And that's where we are right now in our journeys. Right?
Yeah. So, so he's basically take that forward, right? He's saying that I am sarva bhuta shaya sthitaha. I am seated in everybody. So who is this I who's seated in everybody? It is the self, right? That Abhinav was talking about. He's the self. Now, this is interesting because everything in our life, we always talk about that whatever problems you're facing, whatever issues you're facing in your life, there's no point in trying to fix what is outside of you, right? We are always saying figure out what that is telling you about your antahkaran. Figure out what it is telling you. It's bringing something important for you. This is Narad. What is Narad? We had learned about Narad and we're going to learn about him again in today's class. Narad Rishi, Dev Rishi Narad is the propounder. He's the knowledge giver. He's the one who will create situations around us, that he will instigate situations that will help us learn something, okay? Help us in our journey, right? So understand that how Narad Rishi, Dev Rishi Naradji is around us. The situations that are coming up is because of his grace for us to learn about ourselves. So everything is inside of us, whatever happens outside of us. So yat pinde brahmande, yat pinde tat brahmande. Okay, whatever is inside is also outside. Whatever is inside of me in this pind, in this little world around me, this Kurukshetra, Dharmkshetra, Kurukshetra, is in this Brahmand outside of me. And now in this shloka, in this example, Bhagwanji is saying that we say that Bhagwanji, this world is Bhagwanji's cosmic body. Okay. Now you can see we've always used the word hologram. I am a hologram of this universe. That's why if this world is Bhagwanji's cosmic body, everything in that body is reflected in this body. Understand that. Yat pinde brahman, tat brahmande. Whatever is in this world, that's why the examples that we will read about, connect them back to yourself. We always say that, right? We've not understood. If we can't figure out how that principle applies to me, inside me specifically, if we've not made it personal to us, we've not understood the principle. Okay. So this is how we will talk about every aspect that will come in as well. In some cases, it's obvious. In other cases, if it's not obvious, then wait up. You need to go deeper, and you at some stage, second time, third time, you will understand it better. Okay. But end of the day, this is what you have to always remember. Okay, so now that he is the basis of all human beings, he is the Jivatma inside of all of us, and that Jivatma is Bhagwanji. That is the base layer of all manifestations that we'll read forward. Okay. I think there was one final thing that I wanted to say. But it's okay, it will come up later. Oh yeah, there's one more thing, right? Now that we are talking about this cosmic body versus our body, right? Now in this Atma is the Para Prakriti. And so we've seen that Srishti Chakra, right? The 23 elements Srishti Chakra. Atma sits on top. It's the Para Prakriti. And then Apara Prakriti starts from down below there, from where the three gunas start to play their impact. Okay, so our Antakaran is a Para Prakriti, the insentient nature. And the sentient nature is Atma. Okay. Let's move on. Kakuli, you will read.
Now the Lord speaks of the first radiances of the self which brings about creation.
Adityanamaham Vishnuhu
Aditya Naham Vishnuhu
Jyotisham Raviransuman
Jyotisham Raviram Shuman
Marichir
Marichar Maruta Tamasmi
Nakshatranamaham Shashi.
Nakshatraham Maham Shashi.
So he's saying basically, you can understand that, right? Aham is I am, and after that, all others are words. So it's easy to understand. We'll just go and read now.
Among the Adityas, I am Vishnu. Among the effulgences, I am the sun. Amongst the Maruts, I am Marichi. And among the asterisms, I am the moon.
So here he's referring to different types of light, basically, that are that are present in this world. And then he'll talk about different aspects of those life and what is the chief amongst all of them. And he'll say those chief among them are me. Okay. So he starts with Aditya. Let's read first, then I'll explain.
The first radiances. In this shloka, reference has been made to 4 radiances of the Lord, which herald the beginning of creation. They are explained below. Adityas. Creation is, in essence, the manifestation of names and forms in one reality. This is possible only if reality takes on different shades of the unreal to create the illusion of names and forms. For example, no lines can be produced by light alone without a touch of shade. The insentient lower nature represents the unreal. The real sentient upper nature radiates the rays of reality into it to create the panorama of names and forms. The areas where they meet are the regions where Maya lights up this panorama. This blaze of light is called Aditya and it appears in 12 aspects. The chief of those aspects is called Vishnu, which is the power with which the Lord sustains the creation.
So this is where you will start to understand why this world has to be dualistic. He's explaining that here, right? So we always say there is unity, 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 and duality is the Maya, it is the ignorance and all of those things, right? So why is that? He's saying, boss, this world has to be dual. Without that duality, nothing will come. Why? Now understand the concept of duality here. At the very core, when he said, Eko ham bahusyami, he said, now I'm not one anymore, right? There is me and there is my Ansh Jivatma. So there is Paramatma and there is Jivatma. Okay. Without having this Paramatma and Jivatma concept, there is only unity. So duality is the very basis. And everything in this world exists in duality because of this very basis of genesis. Okay. Now, what does that mean for me? It means in everything under the sun, there is no absoluteness. Nothing in this world is absolute. Okay. Everything is relative and everything has two sides. Every coin has two sides. There are pros and there are cons. Everything comes with that. Okay. So Aditya specifically that is being referred to here, the story goes that there was Sage Kashyap. Sage Kashyap married the two sisters and the two sisters were Aditi and Diti. So from Aditi came 12 sons. They were called the Adityas. And these are this is where the Devtas came from. Okay, the light. Okay, and then from his marriage with Diti came sons that were called the Daityas, the Rakshasas, the shade, the darkness. Okay, so they were born together when there is light, there has to be shade. The moment there is something that stands in the way of light, a shade gets created. You only enjoy the warmth of the sun when there is coolness of shade that helps with it. Okay, you enjoy warmth the best, you enjoy the sun most when you have experienced its lack for a very long time. Like ask the UK people, right? Lots of rain, lots of darkness, all those long dark days. After that, when sun comes up, how valuable it is, right? And in Singapore, you have sun all the time. And so when there is no sun, then you enjoy the shade, right? You enjoy your, after a very hard day of work, you enjoy your sleep the best. But if you're sleeping all day long and you're just relaxing and you've not had hard work, that sleep is not that sweet. When you are thirsty, you enjoy, it's because of thirst, you enjoy the quenching of the thirst with water the most, right? So the things always go together and one creates the value of the other. Okay, there is no absolute good, there is no absolute bad. There are always shades of those things. Okay, and one creates the value for the other. Okay, so this is very important when we start, like, when we think about this world, understand that everything is a manifestation of Bhagwan Ji. There is no good, there is no bad. So leave those moral judgments aside. Okay, we are constantly judging people, constantly saying right, wrong, this, that, and all. We have to leave those behind us now. Okay, because everything is a manifestation of him, and everything comes with that duality. There is no perfect person, there is no perfect way of being, there's no perfect, everything in a context. Duality, you cannot take the head away from tail. So know that whenever you make a choice in your life, it's always about, okay, I've made this choice because these are the pros I'm taking. It will come with the cons. You can't separate them. Okay. So those are important things to remember. And this is where Bhagwanji is telling us. So now out of the Adityas, he says, so out of the Adityas, out of all of those devas that came around, the best was Vishnu. He's saying the best is Vishnu and I am Vishnu. Okay. Later on, we will learn about sage Bhrigu, who is the best of the sages out of the 7 Maharishis. And he was the one who had taken the test of Brahma, Vishnu, and Rishi, and decided that, and he had adjudicated that Vishnu is the best amongst the 3. He's the highest because he's the sustainer of everyone and everything, right? So, out of all the Adityas, Vishnu is the best. Now, Vishnu here is being referred to as the Lord Vaman Avatar, who had taken in 3 steps. He had taken the earth, the Akash and the Patal, and taken it from the Daityas and given it to the Devtas. Okay, so that Vaman Avatar is being referred to when we say I am Vishnu here. Okay, and then out of all the effulgences, I am the sun. The next one. Okay, let's read that first.
Sun, by this term, is not meant the radiant orb which rises in the east and sets in the west. It denotes the power of the Lord, which lights up myriads of such effulgent suns in the universe. So he is said to be the sun among effulgences.
So why sun? Because if you look at a gross level to understand this, right? At a gross level, we see light coming from the sun. We see light coming from moon. We see light coming from stars. We see our own electricity that comes, right? If you look at the source of all of this, the original source is sun. It is the sun's energy that is reflected of the moon. It is sun's energy that is reflected of the stars. It is sun's energy that is stored in water to create hydropower, which then creates electricity for us. It is sun's energy that is harnessed through wind energy, which creates electricity for us. It's sun's energy that is stored in fossil fuels that creates electricity for us. So sun in our gross world is the ultimate source of light and energy. So amongst all effulgences, he's saying, I am the sun at a gross level. Take it to a subtler level, then we are not just referring to the sun that we see up here, but in fact, the power that drives all the suns in all the universes.
So to add on to what Purana is saying, he's essentially highlighting that he's that source behind everything else we may interact with. So if we look internally, in a way, we have 5 senses, right? Eyes, nose, ears, mouth, touch. He's saying he's the mind that experiences the senses. So it's the mind that controls the senses, right? If you're listening to me right now through your ears, but your mind starts talking and you start thinking about, oh, I have to do this today, I have to do that today, you stop listening, even though your ears are open. So it is the mind that is controlling, processing, taking all the information from the senses. So he's essentially saying he's that source in every part. The subtlest form that you have to go to, that is where he is seated. He will never be found on gross form. You will see his power in the subtle form.
In fact, mind will be the next shloka, where he will actually say, he'll talk specifically about mind as well, in the same way.
Marichi. Marut denotes the power, the lack of which causes disappearance of the physical form. The vital power in the body is the chief amongst these, and this is one of the 49 forms of Marut. This vital form or prana is also a radiance of the Lord which sustains sentient beings.
Yeah. So in Shlok 6, we had talked about 7 Maharshis, right? Marichi is one of the Maharshi, and he is he's one of the Maruts, right? Now, Marut is basically Maruti. Maruti, just, even Hanumanji is called Maruti, Marut Putra, right? Pavan Putra. So it basically refers to a class of powers, which are basically type of Vayu that is there in this world. And Vayu is what? Vayu is is a very fast form of energy, right? It moves very, very fast, correct? So so it's that particular energy that pulls things together, right? So in our body also there are various types of Vayus, and they are referred to as different types of, like, there is Pran, there's Udan, there's all of those other types of Vayu, right? So he says he is the chief among all of them, and the chief of that, the power. Now we talk about Pran, and we will come to, even in one of the shlokas here, we will call that he is the Pran among all the Vayus. But at this stage, we are at a level higher, subtler, where we are talking about the power that stands behind all those powers. So Pran, we've already created an object out of the abstraction. Here we are referring to the abstract power that sits behind even Pran, okay, which is the Marichi. It is being referred to as the Marichi, the power that gives power to all the other types of Vayus and the Prans in the entire world, in the entire universe.
Moon. In the night skies, the moon is the nearest and brightest of all heavenly bodies, indicated by the word asterisms. The Sanskrit word used in the shloka is nakshatra, one of the connotations of which is that which lacks mutability. It is said that the radiance of the moon gives nourishment to life-preserving herbs, and that this radiance is a manifestation of the Lord, shloka 13 of chapter 15, in his aspect of Soma, which gives the power of immutability to the sap of herbs.
So he's just, there are 27 nakshatras in this world, and the king of them is the moon. Moon is the king. So he's saying, I am that. So another reference to him being the chief, the most important, the most special of all of those aspects is always going to be his representation. And remember, that doesn't mean that only moon is his representation, right? What about the other 26 nakshatras? Those 26 nakshatras are also his representation. They also derive their power from Bhagwanji, right? But because we are so moved, our buddhi is so thick that we don't understand, we are so gross. That's why the only things that really impress us are things that go to an extreme to be able to wake us out of our slumber. And only those things, they catch our attention. Subtler stuff just passes us by without us even realizing. It's when something is like big and dazzling that catches our attention, right? Moon will catch our attention in the night sky, not those tiny stars, right? That's why he's referring to those main, the most important and the most dazzling aspects to catch our attention at this stage. Yes, Abhinav, sorry.
No, the beautiful point. And I think for us to experience subtleness, it necessarily requires us to do reflection. Without that, you cannot see it. Without that, you can only experience the gross. It is a necessary aspect of our engagement and our reflection and our intellect that allows us to see the subtleness.
Correct.
Without that, you cannot. An animal cannot experience the subtleness. It's only us who have that faculty, which is why it said only we can experience God.
Absolutely. Kavita, will you read the next? Papa, actually, do you want to try? No? Okay. We'll practice and then we'll get you to read one of these classes. Okay. We'll let this be for this class. Kavita, go ahead.
Continuing with the narration of manifestations of his sublimities, the Lord says,
Vedanam samvedo asmi,
Vedanam samavedosmi,
Devanam asmi vasavaha,
Devanamasmi vasavaha,
Indriyanam manaschasmi,
Indriyanam manaschasmi,
Bhutanam asmi chetana.
Bhutanamasmi chetana.
Abhinav, your Indriyanam manaschasmi is here. Okay, let's read. It's very simple word meaning, so we'll go ahead.
Among the Vedas, I am Samveda. Among the gods, I am their king Indra. Among the senses, I am their master, the mind. Among sentient beings, I am their consciousness. Other important manifestations. Samaveda. Among the Vedas, Samaveda contains songs which are sweet to hear, and on being sung, they lead to attainment of the Lord. The root Sama in Sanskrit denote peace, which is the attribute of the Lord.
So basically, all four Vedas talk about Bhagwanji, but he says the most beautiful of them, the ones that attracts the most number of people because of the sweetness of the bhajans, the way it is recited, is Samaveda. So that is me. Right? That's a manifestation of me. It's not me, it's a manifestation of me.
Vasava or Indra. Indra is the king of different gods who govern the senses. When consciousness rises above the physical plane and abides the subtle planes, it experiences heavenly felicity. This experience follows when the life force is fixed in Ajna Chakra, the medulla plexus. This is said to be the seat of Indra, who is the aspect of the Lord, the source of all the felicities.
So Indra is the king of all gods. He's the one who gives all felicity to all of us, right? Now, what is the ultimate felicity that we all seek? We don't seek wealth, we don't seek money, we don't seek name, fame. These are all proxies to another felicity that we are always running after. And that felicity that we are running after constantly is happiness and peace. We all want peace and happiness. Okay. And Indra is the giver of all of those felicities of heaven. Correct. Now, Indra is he is supposed to be the god of the Agya Chakra. Okay. We all have experienced this sometimes in our lives, right? There are moments of extreme peace, comfort, happiness, calmness that come. It's just that we are not able to hold on to them long enough. Okay, they come, they stay for some time with us, and they go. The whole idea is to be able to hold on to that experience constantly, which is why all of this Gita, this inner work that we are doing. Baki jab wo hum log experience karte, that comes because it just happens. Certain things came together and we experienced an elevation of our consciousness, and we go beyond all the cares, all the limitations of this body, of this mind. And when that happens, basically, physically speaking, your prana have risen to the Agya Chakra, but then they fall again. Okay. Move forward.
Mind, among the senses, the mind is the master, being counted as both the sense of perception as well as that of action. This is the manifestation of Lord's sublimity. Consciousness.
Yeah. Abhinav, you want to explain this? You were already explaining this quite well. So exactly.
Can you go for it? There's a lot of background noise right now.
Achha. Okay. So mind is actually a very special tool inside of us, right? It is considered the sixth sense beyond the five senses, the sixth sense. And it is the sense of, and it's very special because we have five senses of perception and we have five senses of action, right? If you look at the Srishti Chakra, five senses of action, five senses of perception. Mind is a sense of action and a sense of perception. Okay, it is considered the sixth sense, and it is special because it is both at the same time. And as Abhinav was explaining quite clearly, that mind is a sense that must go with others to be able to perceive or to act. The indriya, the senses, are of no use without man. So like he was saying, you may be seeing something, so your eyes are perceiving all of it, but if your mind is not present, you're not really seeing. We've seen that a lot, right? Your eyes are seeing something, but you're not noticing it. Correct? You're lost somewhere else. Your ears are hearing a lot of noise, but are you really picking it up? Is that really storing? Is that really making any sense to you? No, right? And yet, you are in you may be in a hall where there are a lot of conversation happening, and yet, somebody says your word, your name somewhere, suddenly you pick it up. Your mind has picked it up. It has registered. And so you hear that. But out of all of the other conversation that is happening, so your mind needs to be with your indriya. They have to be with your senses. Otherwise, they are useless. Okay. So out of all the senses of perception and senses of action, he says that I am the mind. Without mind, everything else is useless.
Consciousness. It is the power which activates cognition in sentient beings. It also sustains the life force in beings and is thus a manifestation of Lord.
So Bhagwanji is the consciousness. He's saying, I am the consciousness in the sentient beings. Okay. Now that is quite obvious, right? Because body by itself is not beautiful. Body is nothing, right? In fact, you see once you actually have a dead body, then the way it bloats up, the way it disintegrates, right? It is no more beautiful. The only thing that makes it beautiful is the consciousness in it. And that is why consciousness in us, in the sentient beings, is him and his manifestation. So in all of these cases, you have to understand that the mahatta, the visheshta, the important things, the beautiful things, the special things, the speciality, whatever, the brilliance, the strength, the capability, anything that we see in this world around us is because of him. It is not independent. It does not exist independently, whether it is effulgence that we've seen, or the intelligence, or the beauty of anything. It has no independence. It exists because of Bhagwanji. The moment Bhagwanji leaves, that beauty or that speciality leaves. Just the way body is no longer beautiful when the consciousness is out of it. Okay, that's important to remember. You see something, you hear something, and it's like, it's so beautiful. There is so much rus in it. It's only because there is Bhagwanji present in there. That speciality is not independent of Bhagwanji is the most important thing for us to remember. We'll read again. Back to Kakoli. It's a back and forth.
Wait, even Naina and Smita can read, no?
Where are they? I don't see them. Huh?
Oh, they are there.
Yes, Smita is also there.
Oh,
Neha is
oh,
also
shucks.
there.
Okay, I'm just seeing a very limited this thing on. Oh, it's the lack of view. So
I was wondering what's happening.
I thought only 2 of them are attending the class. Oh my God. Okay, wait a minute.
Three.
I'm on a speaker view, so that's why. Wait. Ish, I'm so
So
sorry.
you recorded this in speaker view then.
View, gallery view. I'm so sorry. Oh, look at that. I thought I only have Papa and Kavita and Kakuli in the class because I was only seeing them. Okay.
चलो नारायण नारायण बोल लो बात देखो.
हाँ, सबसे पहले तो नारायण नारायण.
No, we were enjoying and we were hearing it. I think that is us seeing you and hearing you is more important than you seeing us.
No, they were the subtle. The other 3 were the gross.
Yeah, the subtle.
We couldn't see them.
Please class. Okay,
good one.
let's have Naina read the next one.
The Lord now enumerates some divine powers and says,
Rudranam Shankarashchasmi
Rudranam Shankarashchasmi
Vittesho Yaksha Rakshasam
Vittesho Yaksha Rakshasam
Vasunam Pavakaschasmi
Vasunam Pavakaschasmi
Meru Shikharina Maham.
Meru Shikharena Maham.
Okay, so again, let's just read. It's all very simple word meaning.
Among the Rudras, I am Shankara. Among the Yakshas and Rakshasas, I am the Lord of Wealth. Among Vasus, I am Pavaka. And among high peaks, I am Sumeru. The divine powers, Rudras. As explained in shloka 21, the lower insentient nature is the principal entity underlying creation, the manifestation of which is based on ignorance. This ignorance is removed only on attainment of total perception. The conflict between perception and ignorance has been depicted as the fury of Lord Brahma, the creator, in chapter 12,
12.
Canto 3. This primal fury results in the manifestation of Rudra with 11 aspects, of which principal is Shankara. It denotes the auspicious element, which is the harbinger of ultimate good.
Yeah. So apara prakriti that is being referred to, right? The lower insentient nature is the apara prakriti that we are always talking about. The apara prakriti is the principal entity underlying creation. What are those? The three gunas that are being referred to here. Okay. Now he's saying that the fact that this the fact that this insentient nature, the Maya, exists, the only basis for the existence of that is ignorance, right? And ignorance is only removed on attainment of total perception. Now, this sentence is very, very important. Okay, it's important to understand that how you have agyan, right? We all have agyan. Can you do something to remove that agyan? There is no action that you can take to remove agyan. Agyan is removed only by gyan. That's it. Nothing else. So you may do all the rituals, you may do anything under the sun. You may go and do whatever action, the entire karma yoga you do, entire bhakti yoga you do. If all of this does not culminate into gyan, your ignorance will stay. You may, through your karma yoga, you can gather a lot of punya. Through bhakti yoga, you may gather punya, okay? But you do not get moksha. The moksha is only through gyan. Because only gyan will remove ignorance. And what is moksha? Moksha means removal of ignorance. Okay? Another important thing here is that we are ignoring, we are deluded because of us, because हमने मान लिया है, हम लोगों ने माना हुआ है कि I am this body, I am this mind, I am this intellect. Okay, I have accepted. Who has accepted? Who's this I? My Jivatma has accepted. Okay, and the only way to remove this avaran, the only way to remove this veil on us, the only way to remove this ignorance is to change that manyata. Just the manyata needs to change what you consider yourself to be. All right. So, and the moment you change your manyata and you say, I am not this body, mind, and intellect, I am not this antakaran, that is apara prakriti, I am Paramatma, aham brahmasmi. The moment you understand that and accept it, aap use maan le, ignorance is gone. And the gyan dawns, right? Then what are we talking about then? If it is only manne ki baat, to chalo maan liya. Right? मान लिया, अभी मान लिया हम लोगों ने. So now are we all intelligent? Have we received that ज्ञान का thing? नहीं. Because मान लिया is not just मान लिया. It is a deeper level of manna. Deeper level of manna means you have gone from just faith. This manna is not just faith. Okay, starts from faith. Okay, it has to translate into experiential knowledge. Okay, it has to translate into experiential knowledge. And that experiential knowledge will only come when you create the experience for yourself. Creation of experience necessarily means you going out there and doing something. And that's where all of the tap comes. Okay, there is nobody who learns swimming sitting on the side of the swimming pool. You have to jump into the swimming pool and swim. That is why Karma Yoga, that is why Bhakti Yoga, and then the Gyan Yoga, everything culminates together into ultimately that experiential knowledge. And this is all part of that attaining. He's telling you something, it is illuminating inside of you, you are understanding it, and then through your actions, you purify your antakaran until you completely cleanse it, and your soul, your Jivatma can suddenly come forth and shine and say, now I understand, now I remember. After the 700 shlokas of Gita, at the end, Arjun says, now I remember. That's how the Gita ends. Because he has now done Antakaran ki Shuddhi, and the Gyan has come forth, springing forth from inside of him. It hasn't been stuffed into his head by Krishna. All Krishna has done from top by telling him is to give him tools to cleanse. Okay. So, So what is Rudra, right? The conflict between this perception and ignorance, this conflict between Gyan, the real and the unreal, is depicted in a visual manner by the fury of Brahma. And when he was angry, through his fury came through 11 Rudras. They are 11 different types of anger. They are different types of furies that attack different types of ignorances. Chief among them is Shankar. So that's why he's considered that he's saying, out of all the 11 Rudras, I am Shankar. Because Shankar, the word Shankh means Mangal. He is Mangalmayi. All his actions, all the destruction, all the anger, all the fury that you see is for our best interest. And he's also considered the purveyor of Gyan. He's the Guru, he's the Adi Guru. Correct? He's the Adi Guru. We do it we invoke him in our invocation shloka, the second invocation shloka, correct? So we do that because how can you have fury and Gyan sit together? How can you have fury and Gyan sit together? Right? You consider Gyan means somebody who's Gyani, who's very calm. Then how do you call Adi Shankar and Rudra in the same word? It's because he uses that fury. This fury is directed by the Satogun. The fury directed by Satogun to kill the Tam, the Raj, only Sattva remains. So it kills the ignorance. And from that Rudra or the fury which destroys the ignorance, from there emerges the Gyan. That's why Shankar is simultaneously the Rudra Roop and also the Gyan Roop. He's also the Guru. You see? So from tap comes Gyan. Guru necessarily means there is that energy to kill, to cleanse. Without that tap, there is no Gyan. They sit together. It's the same, one and the same thing. The Rudra and the Gyan are one and the same thing. It's very important to know. Okay. So you have to have a lot of discipline. You have to really hold yourself to a high standard here. Let's go ahead.
Yakshas and Rakshasas, the Lord of Wealth. The Sanskrit word Vitta denotes wealth. Etymologically, it means that which is procured or decided upon. It is from this contonation that wealth and property are taken to be Vitta. The Lord of Vitta is its exchange value through which alone it becomes conducive to the welfare of human beings. Yakshas and Rakshasas are those unearthly powers which guard the exchange value. They are also manifestations of the Lord, with Kubera as their ruler.
Okay. So I think very quickly, basically Yakshas and Rakshas are those powers that govern all wealth. Okay, and their king is Kuber. So he's saying, I am the king of Kuber. Now, what does that even mean, right? It means that who's their king? Who's the ruler of the wealth? The ruler of wealth is how it is used, exchange value with the, okay, how you decide upon using it. Wealth by itself has no value. What gives it value is the way it is utilized. To what end do you use it? And that he's saying, that is me. I am not wealth. I am what gives value to wealth. To what end you put it to use? Is that sitting in your bank account, or are you using it for lok sangrah? Or are you using it to derive arrogance from it? Is there darp? Darp is a form of mad. So mad has, we talk about 3K, 2KLM3, right? Krodh, Kam, mad, Lobh, mad, moh, matsar. 6 datyas, right? These are the 6 demons that we have to make sure that we always steer clear of them. Kya kya hai? Krodh, Kam, Lobh, Mad, Moh, Matsar. Okay. Out of this mad has 3 forms of mad.
You have to translate.
Mad is, yeah, I'm going to translate. So there are 3 forms where basically Abhiman, Dambh, and Dar. Abhiman is when you have a speciality inside of you and you're very proud of it. Okay. And you exaggerate it. Okay. I'm intelligent, very, I have that, vanity of my, over my intellect. I'm very sharp. And then I show it off. I am a good singer and I have Abhiman, I have vanity over that. Beautiful, I have vanity over that. Strong, I have a very good body, vanity over that, right? Abhiman. Dambh is when you pretend you have something. You don't actually have it. You just pretend it to other people, right? Dar is the vanity or the arrogance you get because of things that are external to you. Okay, when you have vanity or arrogance based on your house, based on your role, because of money, your car, your children, or whatever you have outside of you, because you belong to a certain caste, or you belong to a certain community, or you belong to a certain club, or whatever, right? If it's external to you and you derive your arrogance from that, that is called dar. Okay, so why was I saying that? What was the context? I forgot. Oh yeah, okay. So what I was saying is that it is, if it is, forgot why I was saying that. I lost myself, sorry. Anyway, we'll move on. Wealth basically derives its value from its exchange value, and that is God. Okay, let's move on. Pass it.
I think you were mentioning about the value of wealth. Value of wealth is me, the
Yeah,
Lord's.
where we use it. Yeah. Or
then the ego qualities you started explaining.
Because wealth can be part of dar very easily. Okay. And then that, in that fashion, it is not a manifestation of Bhagwanji any longer. Okay.
I have a question.
Hmm.
I have a question, Veena. It's more coming from yesterday's class also. So here, Bhagwanji is bringing up wealth and saying that it's not the wealth, it's the means of using wealth is what is divine. Like, but then in yesterday's Ramcharitmanas class, it also came up that it's not about just using wealth. It is the physical seva which you do, which is very important. So does he talk about that also in Gita, that it is just not writing a check or issuing a check and you feel, oh, I have $100, I have given $30 somewhere and I have really done a good job. But it's not that. It's also like the physical seva. You have to yourself take out your time. Is that something he talks about in Gita
No.
also?
No. So you're conflating 2 very different concepts here. What we are talking about right now is we are trying to understand what are the manifestations of Lord in this world. Okay. Wealth is one very important thing that we see around, correct? Wealth is constantly thrown in our faces in this world because wealth is a form of resources. We need resources to do anything. So what he's telling us here right now is that wealth by itself, and wealth is not just money or or your I don't know, like gold or silver. It's all types of resources Okay, money just happens to be a very fungible resource. Okay, but there are hundreds of other resources that will create, and one of the biggest resource in this world is time. Time is the only resource that you will never get back once you spent it. It's the most expensive currency in this world. Okay, so wealth here is referring to all kinds of resources that are at your disposal. And he's saying that the chief among them, what is the chief value that you see there? That is me. I am the exchange value. I am the vitt. I am the meaning you attach to it. I am how you utilize it, because that is what, it's not even how you utilize it. That is also a sadhan. Okay. But the sadhan there accrues a value to that wealth, to those resources. How you use it is what creates value. You have dollars. Okay. You stuff it in your mattress and you let it lie there. It has zero value exactly. And that is not his manifestation. That is not his charam sima. Okay, it will get eaten away, rotten, it will get rotten, it will get eaten away by rats, and that's it, that's gone. But when you take the same dollars and you put them to some use, you create a building, you've created some value out of it. Velocity of that money is getting created. And that is what creates value in this world. Very simple, this thing in finance. Money sitting in a banking account, money sitting with central bank, money sitting with banks in their wholesale banking accounts creates no value for this world. Okay, money sitting there is called stalemate. It's like it's creating no value. So people are always talking about velocity of money in finance, velocity of money. The faster the velocity of the money, the better the value that is being created in the economy. That's why economists are always looking at velocity of money. How is it being used? Where is it being used? Where it is being put to use? Correct? So at gross form, economists are looking at exactly the same thing that Bhagwanji is saying here at a higher level principle. Okay. Now the karma yoga that you're talking about, that seva, the concept of seva, that concept of seva is the entire 6 chapters, the first shatak. The whole of that is all about seva. You have to do seva. You have to do tap for seva. So conflate the two at all. Okay.
Yeah. So chapter 3 talked Kakoli a lot about Lok Sangra and Seva.
Correct.
Right? And I think what Shalini Didi was saying is
Don't get lazy about your tap, about your charity.
Yeah. So what she was saying is that we tend to constitute our duty and we say hum duty kar rahe hain, but we're doing our seva. And what Shalini Didi was saying is actually you're just doing your duty. For real tap, go out of your comfort zone and do seva. When you actually do physical seva, you necessarily, 2 things happen. One, you rise, you experience the person's divinity. When you do it, you share their emotions, you share their feelings, you share their sense of happiness and hope when you give it. And that necessarily creates a little bit of a bond and a little bit of a awareness that we all are one. That distinction between you and that person goes away for that slight moment, because you feel that person's pain, you feel that person's hope. And when you feel happy doing that seva, and if you keep doing it, you start believing that we are all one. So seva is a very powerful way to rise above your individuality. When you just do your duty, you're still doing it for yourself, for your family, for acquiring for yourself.
Nishkam nahi hai. Nishkam.
Seva necessarily means rising above that ego and doing it for others, but you expect nothing in return. And then sharing the person's experience.
And I'll add another dimension to what Abhinav is saying. Why is that more powerful? It's because, like I just said, connecting it back to exactly what we read right now, resources. What is your most expensive resource? It's your time. It's the only thing that will never come back. Everything else in this world can be generated, right? When you're doing physical seva, instead of paying someone to do that seva on your behalf, right? That's why she was saying, don't just write check. Okay, money is fungible. It will go, it will come again. When you do physical seva, you're giving the most expensive resource you have to someone else, which is your time. You're physically present there. That means the energy you are giving is the highest energy. Yeah, maybe you're using other resources. Maybe you are going to an orphanage and you are actually serving food. Then there is food also is a resource. The money that has gone into it is also a resource. The energy that has gone into creating that food is also an energy that you're bringing to the table. But at the same time, you're also bringing your own time as another value added energy, right? It's all energy exchange. So in physical seva, there is the highest form of energy exchange that happens, which is why everything that Abhinav's saying happens. That is why you're able to transcend so much more in that seva, because you're actually spending the most expensive resource you have in that moment. And that says something. Correct? It's about prioritization. It is creating, you're sending out a signal in this world, correct? Through your actions. Okay. Vasu.
Vasu. It is that effulgent power of the Lord which lights up other entities. It has 8 divisions in which fire is the principal one. The Sanskrit word for fire is pavaka, which means purifier. It is by purification that a thing shines in its own light. The Lord is the greatest purifier, and hence pavaka is his manifestation.
So this is another type of effulgence in this world, source of light, right? This effulgence, and there are 8 different types of effulgences of fire. One of which is the pavak, okay? And he says, I am that. Now, the fire is also one of the 5 elements, right? Out of the 5 elements, it's a very, very special element. It's a very special element because it is the one that translates. So the underlying 2 before that are earth and water. Earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Those are the 5 elements, right? Earth and water are gross elements. And then fire, what do you call it? Air and ether are much more subtle. And fire sits in the middle. It is the element that transforms gross into subtle. Okay, so think about ice, water. You apply heat to it, fire. You apply heat element to it, it becomes steam. Right? So when you do yagya, when you put gross elements into it, they burn and they convert into at a gross level, it converts into the what you see fumes and all, right? And at a subtler level, pavak or fire is the mukh of the gods. It is the mouth of the gods. It is through fire that you give through which they. Where is it? Is it gone? What happened? Oh, something happened. I'm sorry. I'm back.
Yeah, we can see.
Yeah, I can see that again. I think, yeah, somebody called and I cut that call and it went away. Okay. What was I saying? So fire is the mouth of the gods, right? So when you make your oblations in the yagya, it is through fire that they consume it. They do grahan of it. Okay, so fire is also it is the element of heat. Now you think about heat in every way, right? Fire is a very gross form. In a subtler form, it is your tap. Anything that generates heat. When you do tap, we had read about tap in last couple of classes. Tap is the energy that gets stored in you, or the energy that gets saved in you. Tap is really the energy that you store or save, which strengthens your bodies, all the 5 different koshas, depending on where the energy is saved. You give up, and that which comes from the tap, right? That which comes from the sacrifice or austerity that you do. For example, when you do austerity of food, so you're doing fast, your body is able to save energy, otherwise which it would have spent on digesting that food and eliminating that food. Okay, there is that tap energy that gets stored inside your body and your body becomes strengthened. Okay, so every tap that you do creates energy, the tap energy which is stored inside of you. That's the heat. That is also fire. So it is a purifier. Karma, as we had said, knowledge illuminates. All the stuff that we are reading illuminates. And then the karma, action, is the purifier, because actions entail tap And so all your actions have to have an element of heat in it. If we don't have the element of heat in it, we cannot move. It is the heat that creates conversion, that creates energy to do everything. It is the heat inside our stomach, the Jataragni, that converts the food we eat, the gross we eat. It burns it and converts it into the subtle, which is the energy that powers our body. Okay, it's a very, very special element that exists in every aspect of us, in the grossest forms to the subtlest forms. So he's saying, I am that element here. Let's read.
Tuina, do you also want to explain the thing that Rohit ji had shared with us in the lift about fire?
That's what I explained, no? In the yagya, that it converts the gross to the subtle.
Meru, it is the legendary peak which is said to be the
Was it not clear? I said that at the very beginning when I was saying that this is the out of the 5 elements, the gross elements, and then it converts it into the. I said that, right?
I was thinking about a very interesting point here because, we talk about chakras, right? All the chakras represent the elements. So the root chakra represents the earth element. Swadhisthana represents the water element. Then again, the Manipura represents the fire.
Fire, correct.
So when you are saying, when you bring the energy to the Manipura and it transcends there. And also Manipura represents the sun.
Correct. Absolutely. They are all connected, right? End of the day. They are all representing the same basic principles. So earth, water, fire, and then comes the what do you call it? The air, and then comes your ether, and then it all transcends up there, right? So and this is where you have to come all the way here, and after that, this is like the lower chakras and then the higher chakras, right? So that's the transition from lower to higher consciousness.
It's very interesting to see how everything is very interconnected.
Same concepts being told in different ways. Meru, let's read Meru.
Meru, it is the legendary peak which is said to be the central point of the universe. This does not signify a geographical location, but denotes the highest point of consciousness where perception of the Lord takes place. This is why the Lord is Meru amongst the peaks.
So in the Srimad Bhagavad, what is the picturization here? The picturization is that there is this tallest mountain in the world, which is Sumeru, and at the top of Sumeru lives all the divine life sits there. Okay, and at the base of it, all the phenomenal world that we see around here is at the base of Sumeru. Okay, but in reality, what does it mean? Okay, now let's translate it back to our body. Our spine is, the word for spine is Merudand. Okay, so Merudand is the spine. The peak of the Merudand, the peak of spine is Sumeru, the peak of the mountain, and the base layer is the lower chakras. And as Kavita just explained, right, the lowest chakra is the earth chakra. Okay, so the grossest of it all, and then so as we move from the grosser elements to the higher elements, we have to do, as we move, our consciousness rises. So Sumeru, that legendary peak, is the peak of consciousness, which is here, Ajna Chakra. Okay, so that is what it represents. Okay, and even in Japmala, if you see, right, the top one, the one that you never cross, is also called the Meru. That last bead is called the Meru. So you go from one to the other and then you go right back. You don't cross it over, right? So that's the peak of consciousness. So he's saying of all the levels of consciousness, I am the peak, basically. I am the Agya Chakra amongst all of these things. So that's what he's talking about when he refers to Meru. We have time for another one. And this will take some time. We can try it. 6 minutes. What say? Should we go for it? The next one quickly. We can do it. Let's do it. Smita?
Sure. Connection. The Lord now describes some important powers flowing from his sublimities.
Purodhasam cha mukhyam mam
Purodhasam cha mukhyam mam
Vidhi Partha Brahaspatim
Vidhi Partha Brahaspatim
Senani Namaham Skandaha
Senani Namaham Skandaha
Sarsamasmi Sagaraha.
Sarasamasmi Sagaraha.
Three.
O Parth, know me to be Brihaspati, the chief amongst priests. Among the commanders, I am Skanda, and among the largest expanse of water, I am the ocean. The eminence of the Lord, Brihaspati. This is a name given to the Lord of Jupiter, who is said to be the high priest of celestials. This word springs from the Sanskrit root Brihat, which signifies the grand Maya. Creation is a type of yagya by the Lord who presides over Maya as its chief priest.
Yeah. So Brihaspati is, like he said, he's the he's basically the lord of Jupiter in astrology. And he's supposed to be the one with the sharpest intellect. And that is why he's considered the high priest, the Purohit of all the gods. And he presides over all their yagyas. So that's the mythological story of it. Okay. And here he's basically saying that the creation is a yagya by the Lord. And Brihaspati presides over that yagya. Right? So everything we do now, think about it from that, yat pinde tat brahmande, correct? So what does that mean for us? Every yagya that we do, every creation that we do, everything that we are doing is a yagya. Okay, every action of ours is a yagya. And when we do every action as a yagya, there is a high priest. There is somebody who's presiding over it. Who presides over it? Our intellect. So who is that intellect? Who is the highest and the most intelligent intellect? It is the Nishchayatmika Buddhi. So your Nishchayatmika Buddhi, who presides over all your yagyas of your daily life here, is Brihaspati. So it's him.
Skand. The movement of the vital power, pran, in the ascendant is called skand, and it results gradually in complete concentration of the mind. The vital power is the commander of all activities, and with concentration comes complete mastery over all activities. This is also a manifestation of Lord's sublimity.
So again, we've talked about pran a lot of times, right? And it's a very subtle topic to discuss, which is why we've not gone deep enough. But you can see how important it is as a concept. Now, pran, we always say, right? Pran nahi hai to there is no life, right? Consciousness is almost equated to pran. We say vayu, pran is vayu. We've referred to it as vayu as well, right? And then when we do yoga, we are talking about breath exercises called pranayam and stuff, right? So all of these different aspects, they refer to pran. Okay. Now, pran, when you direct it well, it is extremely, it gives a lot of power. Right, so it is the thing that keeps this body together. You can go down into your mind through the following of the breath itself. Following the pran gets you understanding the pran, or just focusing on the pran, concentration on the pran gives you complete mastery over your man. Okay, so when this vital power of pran moves up the ascendant, it is what causes concentration. And the name given to is the Skand. In the on the mythology side, Skand is the commander of the gods. And who is he? He's basically Kartikeya god. He's the son of Shankar, son of the Gyan, son of the Rudra. Okay, he is the one who commands all the forces and focuses them on the task at hand. And when you've got that concentration, basically Skanda is what causes you concentration, focus, concentration. He's the commander of all the forces, of all the divine forces we have. Okay. So he's saying, I am the activity that gives you that concentration. I am the one that brings that concentration, because concentration is the only thing that will give you results. in this world. Okay? So that power of concentration is Skanda, is him.
Sagar. All the other reservoirs are filled by water of the ocean. The individual consciousness of being is, in a similar manner, derived from the consciousness of the Lord.
So, so when you talk of Sagar, right, it is always considered that it is, it remains in its maryada. It remains within its bounds. It is considered very gambhir. It runs deep, right? So those are the characteristics that are associated with Sagar, and we've used the example of Sagar a lot, right, with waves and all, to understand how we are part of how our consciousness, or how Chetana is part of Lord. Correct. So he's saying, and it is the largest. Sagar is the largest water body on the earth. In the largest water body, the most amazing water body, the deepest water body, that's representation of me. Okay. So again, to close the whole thing, what we are trying to bring out here, what Bhagwanji is trying to bring out here very clearly to us, is that all these special powers, the special capabilities, the speciality, the important things that you see around you, everything is derived. It is not independent. It does not stand on its own feet. It has no independence. It is completely derived from Bhagwanji's powers. So when you look at them, when you appreciate them, and it doesn't have to be that you have to go after that stuff. It is something that happens swabhavikally, whatever is your nature, whatever attracts you naturally. Somebody is attracted to A, somebody is attracted to B, somebody is attracted to C. In each of those cases, don't go against your nature there. Just whatever your senses are following, just begin to see that mahatvata. The moment you think that mahatvata, that importance, that speciality is of that thing, of that vyakti, vastu, ghatna, paristhiti, VVGP, the moment you start to see it in that fashion, you have lost it, right? You are now ensnared by Maya. But the moment you are able to see, no, this is Bhagwanji's representation, it is his manifestation, and it triggers the thought of Bhagwanji in you, then you are seeing things for what they are. Then you are doing chintan, not of the sansar, you are doing chintan of the Lord. Like I said at the beginning of the class, you are not just thinking of Bhagwanji directly. That is not the type of chintan he's talking about here. He's talking about chintan where you see something and the thought that triggers in your mind is that of him. Okay, that's the type of chintan we are talking about here. So you look at a beautiful sunflower and you say, oh, wow, how brilliant, how beautiful, what a color, what a design, all of those things, and how amazing it is, and how it turns around with the sun, or anything that might catch your fancy, right? When you're thinking of it, you're not just looking at the sunflower, you're looking at the amazingness that Bhagwanji has brought here. Right? So thought in your mind is that of Bhagwanji. That's the way we do chintan while we are living in this world. And he's giving us those examples. Make sense?
Yes, and I think if we started thinking in that way, there is no place for the hatred or jealousy or anything like that, because whatever you see, whoever you see, it's everything the talent, everything is like from the Bhagwanji. That is what we are going to, that is what we need to develop in us.
Exactly. So then there is nobody else other than you, right? Everybody is you. So your behavior would change so much in this world if everybody is Bhagwanji. Watch your actions. Your actions will tell you whether you're really seeing it or not, whether it's translating. End of the day, if all of this satsang is not being done, you're not taking it back to contemplate on it. Manan, Muni, Manish, we are human beings. Human being, the concept, the word comes from Manan. If you're not doing Manan, you're not doing a basic duty of being a human being. Then you're being an animal. The only thing that differentiates an animal from a human being, everything else is the same. The only other difference is contemplation. Contemplation about what is real and what is unreal. If you're not using the satsang to further do your own manan And if that is not translating into your nidhi dhyasan, and if it is not translating into your day-to-day behavior, your day-to-day activities, if your relationships are not changing, your behavior is not changing, when the same situation comes again, the way you are being in that situation does not change, then you have to reflect back and say, what am I not doing? That means there is more tap necessary, more tap. Whatever we are doing is not enough. Find more tap, do more nam jap, do more upasana of Bhagwan Ji to help, ask for help. He will help. He will help. Okay, more nam jap, more upasana. 6th April is the nam jap ahuti, the day for nam jap anushtan ahuti. We are going to be having two yagyas. One would be in the morning, one is in the evening. There will be a Zoom link for both of them. So please join in at least one of them. Be part of it. Give your own ahuti of nam jap in that. And there's no need to report, but please check what you had promised and make up if there are any balances left. And just because there is a Purnahuti Havan does not mean that we stop doing nam jap. We have to use this. This is the anushtans are only done so that they help change a behavior in us. Right? Just as we go to Tirth, if we go to a Tirth and we come back and we are still the same, then that Tirth has been something that we've done a bhog of. Okay, we have to bring the Tirth back into our lives, the experience we had there. Similarly, the Nam Jap doesn't have to stop now. Please continue to do the Nam Jap and continue to strengthen your practice of Nam Jap so that when next time the Anushtan starts again in November, which it will, whatever your capacity was, it should have gone up. If you had committed 2 malas, I want to see 5 malas in the next one, 10 malas in the next one. Your minimum number of malas that you have to work towards is 16 a day. If you're not doing 16 malas a day, you're not doing enough. Okay, absolutely not enough. Minimum 16 malas. You have to work your capacity towards that. I'm not saying it has to be on day 1, but when your next Anushtan starts this November, I want to see every one of you having doubled at least or tripled your ability to do your malas. I want to see how many of you get to 16. Okay, that's the goal you have to get to towards this next time. So so it can't be that, oh, we are stopping everything and then whoops, after that suddenly something starts. You will have developed no capacity. Okay, so continue the Nam Jap Anushtan with the ability to say next time it comes around, I will give my 16 Nam Jap mala, okay, as my commitment. 16 Nam Jap means 1750 on your counter. Okay, a little less than that, but okay, take 1750 as your number. Okay, so that's the number I want to see for all of us in the next Anushtan. Okay, that's it. Please, one more thing, please share your takeaways in the chat group with everyone. Whatever was your learning, whatever you are experiencing as you're applying these principles in your daily life through the week, whatever you face, whether it was a success, whether it was a failure, whatever small thing, you have a moment of clarity, you learned something, put it into the chat group. Let's create those conversations. That's one. Second, we will start a roster where we will I'll do it right after this class today and we'll start that. The third thing is that end of this chapter, we're going to have a quiz. Okay. I'll explain more about what format the quiz will take in the next class, but we'll definitely start taking quizzes from this chapter onwards. Pretty much all other classes are doing quiz formats now because it helps to nail down the learnings that we have in the classes. Okay, we're starting it really late and we have been nailed down for not doing quizzes in our classes. So we're going to start with this chapter. So I'll come back with more details in the next class for this one. Okay. All right. Thank you everyone for joining. Narayan. Oh, we should stop.